In the world of high finance where I work, everything has a price. Risk, loyalty, silence. I just never expected my boyfriend's affection to be a line item on his mother's balance sheet. But then, I never truly understood the asset class that was the Vaughan family. Lucian Vaughan was brilliant. A sculptor with a trust fund, all brooding intensity and poetic soul. We were opposites. I was structured, ambitious, driven by data. He was chaos and clay under his fingernails. His mother, Victoria, was the empire he'd rebelled against. A steel magnolia of a woman who built a real estate dynasty from nothing. She hated me on sight. I was a calculator she'd sniff, not a muse. I was a variable she couldn't control in her son's life. After 2 years with Lucian, things got serious. We talked about a loft in the Arts District, a life built on our own terms, away from the gilded cage of the Fawn Haven estate. That's when Victoria summoned me. Not to the family office, but to the private conservatory at her home, a jungle of rare orchids she personally tended. It felt like being called into the lair of a very elegant dragon. She didn't offer tea. She offered a wire transfer. $50,000. In cash if I preferred. For your future, she said, her smile not reaching her glacier blue eyes. I think you and Lucian have reached your natural conclusion. You're stifling his genius. Take this, end it cleanly, and pursue your spreadsheets. She called it a severance package for a relationship. The insult was so clinical, so transactional, it took my breath away. I didn't take the money. I went to Lucian, furious, hurt, expecting him to be outraged. He was resigned. That's just mother, he sighed, running clay-dusted hands through his hair. She tests everyone. Don't let her win. His passivity was a colder shock than the bribe. He didn't storm down to the conservatory. He just went back to his sculpture, as if I'd told him it might rain. I should have left then. But pride is a poison. I stayed to prove a point to her, to him, to myself. I became more entrenched. I started managing Lucian's chaotic finances, his gallery contracts. I was becoming indispensable. Victoria's polite disdain curdled into something darker, more watchful. The shift was subtle. Lucian started spending more time at the estate. Mother needs help with the new garden installation, he'd say. Or she's funding a new studio for me on the grounds. He came home smelling of her perfume, that same, heavy, gardenia scent that clung to the conservatory. He started quoting her philosophy on art, life, love. Our arguments about his mother became circular, exhausting. I was the unreasonable one, misunderstanding their bond. The end began with a vacation. Our vacation, to Bali. 2 days before we left, Lucian came down with a mysterious fever. He was too ill to travel. You go, darling, Victoria purred over the phone. Let the poor boy rest. I'll nurse him. I went alone, feeling uneasy and foolish. While I was away, my best friend, who lived in their neighborhood, sent me a text with a photo. It was grainy, taken from a distance at a popular waterfront restaurant. It showed Lucian, looking perfectly healthy, laughing across a candlelit table. His companion wasn't a business contact or a fellow artist. It was Victoria. She was feeding him a bite of dessert from her fork, her hand lingering on his cheek. The caption read, UHHH, Sloan. Is this a weird family dinner or am I seeing things? I saw it. The intimacy was unmistakable, but it was twisted, wrong. It wasn't maternal. It was possessive, romantic. I felt the world tilt off its axis. I flew home immediately, 16 hours of screaming silence in a first-class cabin. I didn't go to our apartment. I went to a hacker ID used for due diligence at my firm, a grey hat wizard named Felix. I gave him a retainer and a simple directive: uncover the financial and digital life of Victoria Thorne and her son, Lucian. Look for hidden connections, shell companies, anything unusual. What Felix found wasn't just an affair. It was a systematic, lifelong grooming. Trust funds structured to pay out only with Victoria's approval. Lucian's art sales were often to LLCs owned by her corporate web. And then, the bombshell, a sealed, confidential psychiatric evaluation from Lucian's teenage years buried in a private clinic server. It detailed a pathological enmeshment and role confusion initiated by Victoria after her husband's death. Lucian wasn't just a mama's boy. He was her creation, her proxy husband, her ultimate possession. My $50,000 severance package wasn't to get rid of a gold digger. It was to remove a rival. Armed with this, I didn't confront Lucian. I went to the one thing Victoria valued more than her son, her empire's reputation. I scheduled a meeting with the board of her flagship charity, the Thorne Foundation. I presented a sanitized, corporate version of the truth, a PowerPoint. Slide 1, the $50,000 bribe attempt bank records, a recorded call I'd wisely made. Slide 2, evidence of financial coercion, Felix's findings on the trust funds. Slide 3, the psychiatric report, anonymized but damning. My thesis was clear: Victoria Thorne was a liability. Her personal conduct presented a massive reputational risk that could sink donor confidence. The board, comprised of old money socialites and cautious CEOs, was horrified. They forced Victoria to step down as chairperson emerita to focus on family matters. Then I sent the full, unredacted file to Lucian. With a one-line note: "Your mother didn't want me to leave because I was bad for you. She wanted me to leave because I was competition. You were never her son. You were her sequel." His response was a single, broken phone call, weeping. He finally saw the cage. But it was too late for us. Far too late. The final act of my revenge was the most poetic. I took the story not to a tabloid, but to a prestigious cultural magazine that had long wanted to profile the enigmatic Thorne dynasty. I gave them an anonymous, deep background interview. The published piece was a masterpiece of insinuation. Titled "The Gilded Cage, Art, Money, and a Mother's Love," it didn't state the obscenity outright. It described the unusual closeness, the financial symbiosis, the baffling romantic partners who never lasted. It quoted art world insiders whispering about the handler, not a mother. It was a death by 1,000 elegant cuts. A month after the article ran, Lucian and Victoria were quietly married in a private ceremony in France, where such things raise fewer eyebrows. She'd won. She finally had him, irrevocably. But her victory was her eternal damnation. The society that was her oxygen now openly shuns her. The empire she built is run by caretakers. She is a Gothic punchline, locked in her chateau with her prize. As for me, I used the $50,000 she'd offered. I invested it in a startup run by a former colleague. It went public last year. That initial severance is now worth just over $2 million. I bought my own penthouse, with a view that rivals the Thorne Haven estate. Sometimes I look out at the city lights and think of them entwined in their monstrous, mutual captivity. She paid me to leave her son. So I did. And I took a piece of her empire with me as change. The joke was always on her. She thought she was buying off a gold digger. She was actually funding her own destruction. And Lucian? He's not my tragedy. He's her masterpiece. And like all art kept in a vault, no one will ever see him again.